Good evening and good evening. Welcome to the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul podcast, where I am your host, Dr. Michelle Boulden-Hammond. And listen, tonight I am truly excited. Truly excited to share, and for all of the CNA, GNAs, kudos to you. Thank you for what you do. And tonight I want to showcase my friend Glenda Cornish, who specifically did what was told to do to be the person to be recipient. So Glenda, thank you so much for following the directions. Thank you. And we welcome you here tonight at Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul.
Thank you.
So Glenda, since with this honor, again, since it's being, GNA, CNA week, I want to say thank you so much again for what you do. Because, I was a professional for myself for 21 years in long-term care. And I will say it is not an easy task, but as we have learned in this job, it's just not about the job. You got to have the compassion. And we'll talk about that a little later. So the first question I have for you, what qualities do you believe that make an exceptional CNA or GNA?
Well, I feel as though that you should be very reliable and trustworthy and just have compassion and patience. If you don't have patience, things can go downhill.
Big time, right? Big time. Because let me say, working in long-term care years ago, I'm telling you, it was a whole lot of stuff went on. Some you can't get along with everybody, but you still got to give them their care, right? And
Exactly.
I've been called all kinds of names, been beat up, everything because of having dementia. Some patients and had dementia, so that's another form of things that has can do things. So you must have that compassion.
Yes.
So speaking of that, I know in your career, I know in my career, we have had some challenging situations. So can you give an example on a strategy or explain a situation that where you had a challenging client?
Just, you know, when you're working with people that you in the community where you live at, some of them may just think they're going to get special privileges. But myself, I treat everybody the same and as if I want my parents to be treated. No specially, just stay calm with the situation. If it escalate, just go to a higher management and let
Yeah.
them deal with and handle it.
Yeah, that's funny you say that too, because some of our family members can come into those situations. They be like, "Oh,
Exactly. Encountered that once.
counter effect." Yeah, so you got family members who you come into and they be like, "Oh, can you get me this?" No, it's not right in their diet. No, I'm not gonna get that too. Oh, well, you ain't my family then, but that. But that's what happens. I'm still your family, but I want to see you live. I don't want to see you die because of something that you're not supposed to be having in the first place. So, the next question I have is, what is a memorable moment that reminds you why you chose the profession?
Well, when I was 14, my dad had a trucking accident where he crushed his leg. And so, being that my mom still was working and, I was already thinking about the health field. And then he came home with the wound. And on the times when my mom wasn't at home, I would say, let me help and see if I can help do it. So until my mom got off work, I would dress his wound. At 14, I learned and looked at him when they did it because you only had in-home person that would come maybe, once a week or something, or he had to go to a place. And at that time when he had his surgery, it was way down BB Medical. So the trips were long. So, my mom said she would do it at home. So we both learned it at home and took care of it. And then, later on in the years, both my mom and my dad took sick and took care of them until, their passing. So it was kind of what made it led me into the field, because they always ask. My mom would always ask, "I got this new pill. What you think about it?" As I got older and worked in that field, and I was like, "Doctor gave it to you. It's for this, Mom. It's going to help do this." And she would say, "Okay, well, I just was running it by you, but I started it yesterday or something." She would say, but it was just that she wanted me there as her advocate to make sure that she was making the right decisions and doing the right things, which I always stayed on top of their medicine and appointments with along when I could go, or, was always called after the fact. But it worked out well.
Yeah, I can say I will go into for me. It was just I always been in a help situation too as well. But I profound, like you said, once I never did understand till later on afterwards. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Kudos to every CNA, GNA, because again, most of the time we the ones doing most of the work. And not to say not to downgrade the nurses, but we're the ones who mostly doing the work, and it can be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I consider and I thought about it, everything happens for a reason.
Yes, I
Right?
believe that too.
Everything happens for a reason. So I started back in 1993 at the Pines. That's when they was giving the CNA classes. And shout out to Lewis, who was my nurse who taught us the class back then years ago. Started out in 1993, and it was right after I had my daughter. But I never did understand why I was in that profession. But let me say, in 2016, I understood why, because that's when my father had took sick, and every skill, everything that I learned as a CNA, it was eligible to keep him home until like he really had failed one time and had to go to the hospital, and that's when he passed. But it was reflected because I was like, this is everything that I learned to keep him at home,
Mm-hmm.
and those skills, and even down to today, caregiving with certain people in the community and certain things. It's a rewarding to me to see that I was a profound in that care. You get what I mean? And so like a lot of people come to me to like, what is this pill for? I was like, it taught me to go look and do some research on stuff with medications and different
Uh-huh.
things like that. But yeah, I never did understand, but now I understand the reason why that had taken place during that time. So right now we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk more with you about your career and how things have happened and how you're going to continue, because I'm going to say this right now. She's working out right now, working on the job right now. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Upfront Mind, Body, Soul podcast, where I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Boulden-Hammond, and I am here this week. We are celebrating the CNA week, GNA week. Again, kudos to you all who are in this profession. I love this part of how you serve. I know it's hard work because look, I'm not just saying it for myself too, but I'm saying it for all of us. It's very important that we have people with compassion and who are out here doing this type of job, because again, it's not an easy job, and we are thankful for those who are joining with the band of being CNAs, caregivers, home health aides. This is your week. Be strong and you're resilient. That's what I can say. And we have our winner, Miss Glenda Cornish, here tonight. And look, she's on the job now. But anyway, that's what it's all about. Sometimes You can't even take the bathroom breaks, as being it. You can't go to certain arenas because you have to. It's just like it's a high demand job. And I appreciate you for taking the initiative to follow the directions that was given to become this honored CNA for this week. So going back to that, how has being a GNA CNA has changed you as a person?
Well, it has made me to be respectful to the elderly, which I always was, and caring and making sure to treat them just with dignity.
Right, right, right. Because so often now our seniors get left out
Yep.
in this world today. It's nothing. This is something that I'll be thinking about because as the years and the technology is progressing, you have people who are about seniors who have most everything is electronic for
Y-
doctors, stuff.
yes.
People can't do that.
Mm-mm.
People are not, but are there any people that are in that space too? I've been thinking about that. Like who's out here creating something because a lot of them aren't health literacy on how to use the EMRs and all that type of
Right.
stuff for to get their appointments. But then like who gets missed out of that? Well, we sent your
Mm-hmm.
paperwork or everything is online now. So
Yep.
that's where I see a disparity at as well in that too. So again, so what have your patients taught you about life?
Well, what they've taught me about life is to appreciate the small things because we never know when that day could come to an end. Age don't have a number on it. It could happen any day. And just, take your time for yourself so that you won't have burnout.
Oh, that's that you hitting on my topic there because that's one of my features that I do about the self-care, as being that's going into the next question. How do you practice self-care while you care for others? Because again, you're
Spending
a
time.
mom, you got your partners, you got your
Mm-hmm.
children, your grandchildren,
Yep.
you have that. What are you doing for you? That's the question. And this is a question that I'm going to ask for the next GNA who's watching this or whoever will watch this. What are you doing for you as your outlet? Because you can get burnt out.
Mm-hmm. Just, taking that vacation that you need. Even if you say, I'm not even going far. It's just taking that time to be to yourself or with your family, spending it with your grandkids, making memories because memories go a long ways.
They
You got to
do.
take time for yourself and getting adequate rest and eating healthy. I don't always eat healthy, but I try to.
Yeah.
There's those days that I splurge, but
Well, in the profession, I found myself eating poorly too because you're always eating on the go,
I
because
don't. I
I
pack my
do
lunch
great.
every day because we don't have a cafeteria there at the ER Cambridge. So I do. But when the crowd say, "Hey, we're going here," I said, "Okay, well, I might get something," and I do. Or we have a busy day, and the doctor said, "Hey, I brought pizza for everybody," so
Okay.
I'm gonna
Gotcha.
eat that pizza.
That's a good strategy though, but you pack every day. That's a good
I
strategy.
do.
That
Mm-hmm.
that is a good strategy. Kudos to you because I'm telling you, it kudos to you for that. And yeah, that's good. That's real good. All right, she's giving out a tip. All right, she's giving out a tip to pack that lunch, and then you were right over there with all the restaurants and all
And
that type of
it's funny
stuff.
because even when I get off work at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, I go home and cook.
Okay.
So that meal that I have that night is usually part of my lunch for the next day, leftovers.
Miss Geraldine
Food too
caught you.
high, I ain't wasting no money.
Miss Geraldine caught you well. You know how he's come over down corners
You
around
got
that
that
corner.
right.
I remember that. I remember that with Candy and Last and all. We come around that
Yes.
corner. I remember those days. Yeah. So, as you talk about, taking care of a person, but, as you share, what accomplishment are you proud of to say that you're in this profession?
Being able to help any new employees that come in and that answer questions, giving feedback from how training was back in the old days as opposed to how training is now. Because I did my training through the Eastern Shore Hospital Center. And if you made it through that, you could make it through anything.
Right.
Because if they went through that today, it wouldn't be people that would survive that training right now to this day. Because I'm telling you, it's a different world back then than what it is now to what the training is.
Even down to the healthcare setting itself, and even in long-term care, the whole thing, demographics have changed so much. Because let me say, and I hope they might be watching. Some I can give out some names. Joan Gannon was our DON. Ronnie Knopp, those ladies
Mm-hmm.
at the Pines. When you hear with the tragic stories that I hear now that goes on, we couldn't even keep people in the bed. Like 7
Yeah.
o'clock, we punch in. You better be working on getting them people out of the bed. They're scheduled for PT, OT, recreation. Now
Yeah.
I'll be like, people just lay in the bed. They don't even get them up half the time. I'm like, wow, this has really, really changed compared to years. I'm like, we would have a list. I remember one time,
Yep.
oh God, when we were short staffed and we had to do a whole and a half. And I went from 11 to 7 when we had to do a whole wing and go to another half side of a wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember them days. I'm like, these girls, whoever they were, they can't control that today. And
No. Because when I
then,
first started out, I was hired at Mallard Bay, and it was an
oh,
LPN and myself. I was on 100 skills unit, and I'm telling you, the LPN and myself, she giving passing meds, flipping and changing people. By the time we get to the end, it's time to start back to the next end. And I'm telling you, that was hard work. And I worked there. I'm telling you, basically 3 months before the hospital called and said, "Can you come for an interview?"
I
Yes,
remember
ma'am,
stories
I
in Mount
can.
Bay too. Yes, yes. I be tripping. I be tripping when I think about, oh my gosh, when I think about, see, you bringing back some memories now, making me go back to that. I remember the cloth diapers. They got it easy with
Yes,
disposable stuff, man.
yes.
Now, back in the day, we had to go put that suit on, take that stuff back to the barrels, and them
Mm-hmm. Rinse
barrels
it out.
spray, rinse it out, and they would take it down to the laundry there. So that's what I'm saying. They got it easy with disposable stuff and chucks and stuff. We didn't have that. We had them
Right.
chucks that they did it on, and we had to go and clean it. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
times have changed even in that. And it was cloth diapers back then.
But I couldn't have asked for a better person training me, Miss Mary White. I'm telling you, I could not give her a better.
Yeah.
She was the one, and she's still running hard right to this day.
Yep, yep. And so is Luz. Luz was our trainer when I first started through the class. And thank you for watching my cousin Consuela Bolden on here. Concy says they didn't play about getting people up. I know because we work together.
Yeah,
They did not play at all. That's why I say I'm amazed when you go visit people. They're in the bed. They're still in the afternoon with their robes and their nightgowns and stuff on, and trays sitting in front of them. I'm like, I can't believe this. I get it gets me because I'm like, man, back in the day, man, I always stayed in the office and halftime. Cause I'd be like, I can't do it, but I did it. We did it. I mean, they would write us up for the
yeah,
big time. Now it's just like we don't even care. Like, wow. But that's how change has, changed. And that was leading to the next question about you told who mentor you along your journey, and that's what I do. I give reverence back to, Luz, Lois, um, Ronnie, Knob, and yeah, Joan, everybody looked at her, but then later as I grew, I knew better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I got better. And to this day, I thank them for those, instilling that culture into me to be the person that I am, and knew that you had the qualities of being a GNA, CNA as you can be. So I did again. So, what would you like the community to know about the work if they are turning to come into that profession as a CNA, GNA? What would you tell the next person who wants to become an upcoming? Because here's the other thing that has changed. When we were going out of high school, I will say the county that I live in, there is no way that nobody can come out of Caroline County without a job with all this technical stuff that they
Right.
have in schools. Even you do in Dorchester as
Uh-huh.
well, too. The technology center. Even if you don't, you should be able to come out with even a home health aide. You don't even really have to go in long-term care. You can go and be a home health aide. I look at that too as
Mm-hmm.
well. Don't, there is, so what would you tell that person who's coming into that?
Just come in with a clear, open mind, willing to learn and be reliable. Show up when you're supposed to show up and be kind and caring.
Yeah, that's it.
Because CNAs are the front line because we're the ones that they see the first thing in the morning, last thing at night.
And the one that they get the documentation to how the person has so they can put in their notes. Let me say that one again. I do gotta go there now. One of my pet peeves used to make me so mad when I worked. You would see that call bell ringing, and I might be in with Mr. Jissa Jones down hall 4B, and you walk all the way down to 4B to tell me this person need to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Now, here's what I know. You had become a CNA before you did that nursing. I know you did. So that used to pet peeve. That used to be one of my pet peeves. Like, are you serious? You come all the way down to 4B. Or here's the other one. I could be on lunch break. When you get back, what? Then there's a whole bed change. That would pivot my pivot. Do you hear me? So where is the compassion? Don't, I just say, just because you're the RN, don't forget you had to do some CNA work before then. So,
Yep.
just be compassionate through that week and, be compressive to that. So the last question I have, if you could describe the impact of a CNA, GNA in one word, what would it be and why?
Well, I always say resilience. And the reason why I say that is because we have to have the ability to stay strong and bounce back from the many challenges that you might face and just be compassionate again
That's right.
and
And
understanding.
yeah, that's so true. That it's all about that compassion. And Constance had put in the chat too. She said a lot of workers are not compassionate at all. And we do see that. We do. I know I see it a lot now.
Yeah.
Not compassionate at all. I mean, me and the doula work here. I encountered, or the other day, I encountered going to the hospital with somebody, a client, and the person didn't say thank. The person was like, hello. That they didn't even speak to him. I'm like, wait a minute. So
Mm,
I get it. I get it. It's a hard day, but you got to take my vitals, but you can't speak. So
right.
it is about the compassion. So I
Mm,
get it. We get burnt out. I get it all, but it's very important that we stay compassionate. So, audience, if this has been something regulated to you, and also for those who are CNAs, GNAs, again, we celebrate you this week. We thank you for taking out the time, but being the compassion person that you are and working in the realm with others and being those special people who need assistance. And again, Glenda, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in tonight even while you're working on the job. I see that's dedication. That is really dedication right there. So I congratulate you. You did the formula, what was asked. And listen, there'll be other more things available coming through on the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul podcast. So you just have to keep looking, keep showing. I am getting ready to take a summer break because there's some new projects and stuff coming on that's going to be happening, and I'm excited about that. But my favorite saying before I leave from the show tonight: if you know and don't feel that you love, just know that you are loved here at the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul. Until next week, I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Boulden-Hammond. Take care.